guess I'll get ready to get going and, where's my other shoe? Hey dear, have you seen my other shoe?
I haven't seen it.
Huh, guess I'll have to go, look around for it. Alright, right back. It's by the back door and... Nope. Huh, it's not in the game room. Alright, moving on. Alright, I don't think Tink has it. Don't you bloody no. It's not in the toilets. Huh. Where is my goddamn shoe? Hey guys, welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve, and today I'll be going over the NECA Pacific Rim Deluxe Class Kaiju Otachi. I've been highly anticipating this figure for a while now, because other than Knifehead, this is my other favorite Kaiju from Pacific Rim. Because the main reason I like Knifehead is mainly because of that whole fight scene and just the presentation of it being highly reminiscent of a Godzilla film, while he was just pure badass in a kaiju like. She crushed Crimson Typhoon's head. She was a part of the epic gangbang that was Cherno Alpha, and when she was stalking Eureka Striker in the bay, and just how epic her hog ground brawl battle was just in general. So needless to say, I needed this action figure in my life, and I'm hoping this guy was worth the purchase. So without further ado, further packaging. Looks pretty much the same as what we got with some of the other newer kaijus with the more box instead of the normal clamshell packaging, which is actually really sweet because this guy's freaking ginormous. I also like how they kind of got the big mama Otachi in here, and then they got the little baby kind of just up at the forefront, which is pretty nice. Nothing really seen inside the packaging except for in the back. It's got a little bit of the background we've seen with a lot of the other Yegas and kaijus and whatnot, the Destruction City, so that's pretty neat. And for the front, you just get a nice concept image of Otachi here at the bottom. Includes baby, already gone over that. For the side of the packaging, just gives you a nice image of the figure in the packaging. Kind of wish it would tell you the category on here, because even at the top of the packaging, it doesn't tell you anything about that either, so that would have been kind of a nice little tidbit to add to this box. And what's nice actually on this side of the packaging is it actually has a different image of him doing his like Hakalugi move, so that's pretty sweet. For the back of the packaging, again, Hakalugi move. Tells you his tail is fully articulated, which is going to be, has interchangeable tongue and 30 points of articulation, and some legal mumbo jumbo. So, let's get him open up out of his cardboard prison. So now that we got Otachi open up out of her prison, she looks this. Oh man, this figure is gorgeous. Really love the overall profile that she's got going on here, and just you can see from just here just how good this figure looks. But before we get into more of her, first we're going to go over Baby Otachi. For the little guy, it looks really nice. Really like the red skin tone that they got going on here. But towards the back, it starts fading off into this kind of purplish color, which looks really nice. Gives it this, awkward to say, this kind of fetus look to it. And you can see it's got the umbilical cord right underneath there, which is very eerie, but very cool that they added that to the figure. Also just love how they got like the little eyes there, look really nice, really nicely detailed. And even has the blue paint in there to kind of convey the light upness that this monster had when you see it come out of her mother. Kind of wish there was a way to have it connected to the mother though. Maybe like a little bit of a longer umbilical cord just so he's kind of crawling out of her, but still cool nonetheless. What's actually really cool about this too is it's actually articulated, which for the head can rotate left and right. Wouldn't recommend going all the way around because of the umbilical cord that's wrapping around this neck, but that's still pretty cool that they add a little bit of articulation there. And I don't think, oh, yep, the arms can move. So both the arms can move up and down, go all the way around. So that's actually really nice. And again, something that this figure didn't really need, but it's really sweet that they added it to it. And then getting into Mama Otachi's detail, head sculpt turned out amazing. Really love all the details that they got going on here. And especially the paint job, like there's nice blacks in here. Really dark browns, got some blue on here on the lips here. So just really nice attention to detail on this figure. Really like the bone color that they got going for the teeth here too. Snout turned out pretty epic, kind of reminiscent of a bat. And then for the eyes here, look really sweet as well. One thing that might have been nice is she kind of has that kind of like look like she's just, huh? Like just a little bit in shock or just kind of staring for the sake of staring. Might have been nice to maybe have a little bit more of a fearsome look, but still looks really nice on this monster. Not too much to really complain about that. And then, if you open up the mouth here, You can see the nice blue paint job that they got going on here. And what this is to help replicate the glowing effect that she had in the film, where when she was opening her mouth, you just see all that blueness just kind of flashing around and all the froth and everything coming out of her mouth. And it's just all kind of bioluminescence. It's really sweet, and it looks really nice on this monster too. You can even see some little teeth here on the side of the mouth here. And then the tongue. Tongue actually is pretty nice looking as well. Really like the light blue and the dark blue that they got going here, and they even have the little bumps going on here. And then what you can do is that if you get the tongue out of here, what she has is she can do her little spit effect where she's all like, where she has this extra piece that she comes with, which what you have to do is remove the tongue, which I'll show you guys how to do in a second. But it's to help make the acid effect that she had, where she'd pretty much hawk a loogie towards the Jaeger's direction. And this stuff would be just as corrosive as like alien's blood and stuff and just melt the armor up. And it's pretty cool that they come with this piece. Kind of wish it was a little bit more straighter. But I do kind of like the arcing effect. It kind of, again, really reminiscent of just somebody just snorting their nose and just spitting it out. So it's pretty cool what they got going on here. And what you do is when you want to put this in, is you have to remove the tongue here, which just wiggle it out a little bit. And this one's easy to pop out. But I noticed that with the original tongue that she comes with, it was actually a really big pain in the butt to get out of here because the tongue's actually painted all the way around. You can see right here some of the paint's actually been removed on the bottom from me trying to get it out. So that was a bit of a bummer. But what I recommend if you guys have a really hard time trying to get this thing in and out is just use a hairdryer. It really helps to soften the plastic up a bit and really makes it easy to pop that thing out. Then if I can get it in there. And then coming along the back here looks really nice as well. Again, with just the overall paint job of this figure's entire body with this nice kind of like dark greens, browns, blacks, and even the little baby blue here is for the bioluminescence coming along the back here as well. And underneath of the tail section here, just really awesome. Again, just really phenomenal attention to detail. Really like the plating effect that she's got going on the back here. And even each of those are sculpted as well, and has this nice bark look to it, which gives it this nice scaled armor look to it, which is really nice. And then same with the arms here too, kind of have this nice crocodilian scaling effect going on along here. And you can see here she's got her nice folded in wings, which we are actually going to be getting in Otachi with the actual wingspan that's coming out. So that figure actually probably on the shelf is going to look a little more epic than this guy is with the way his arms are sitting right now. So the way she's set up right now is I actually think a really nice diorama piece as well, especially if you have all the Jaegers. This one would actually look really fantastic with it. And also I heard that her parts are also interchangeable with the new one that's coming out too. So that's actually really cool. Then getting back to the figure, her wing membranes are black with this dark blue on the inside of there. Which look pretty cool. And then for her hands, these things just look gnarly. Really like how the sharpness of the nails are, which these things stick out actually pretty far, which is pretty awesome. Even has some detailing under here of the palm of the hand, which is really awesome. And then we got the sack, where you got these venom kind of bulbous sticking out of the sack, which look really awesome. Again, really like this baby blue that's got going on here. Really helps to make the figure stand out because overall it's kind of a plain color scheme, but once you start seeing all this, it really just helps to make it pop. And then moving down with the rest of her chest here, you'll see that she has her cut marks that she sustained from Crimson Typhoon when they were having their little skirmish. And I really love how they did the paint here, where they have the nice blue on top here, and it has a darker blue on the inside, and a little bit of whites kind of strung about here and there. Just again, to kind of make this glowing effect, which is really awesome. It has these little yellow triangles coming down here, which is a little offsetting, but it's not too bad. And then for her back legs, look pretty cool as well. Have this little tail end right here. Also has this ginormous plate, and she is smacking the camera. And then her back of the kaiju feet. And then for her tail here, what's actually awesome is that it's articulated. No more bendy tail. Or at least for this figure. Which I personally love this, because it makes her very reminiscent of what we get with the SH Monsters line with their tails, where each of them have their own little segmented joints and ball joints. So she actually gets a decent amount of play to it, which is really awesome. I also really like how they got these little jet black spikes sticking out of the bottom here. It looks really nice as well. I'll just give you guys a little bit better look of the underneath of Otachi's tail. And then you have the pincers on the back, which have this nice baby blue going on the inside of here, and more of the bone colored teeth here, which is really neat. And then what's also cool is we're actually going to start this backwards with the articulation. Is that for this, when you pull one of these little pincers apart, if I can get it to go, it actually spreads all of them out because it has this kind of gear section going on the inside of here. So she actually has a lot of play back here, which is really cool. So you don't have to sit here and fiddle with every single one of these joints to get it to move back and forth, which I personally really love about this figure as well. And just to give you guys a better look at the inside of the pincer's mouth here. Has this nice baby blue on here again, just to really help make the light up effect look really good on this figure. Even though sadly, it would have maybe been nice to see some kind of light up effect on her, but I do love the paint job nonetheless, so trying to mimic that. And for the rest of the tail is fully articulated. Can move up about that far, down about yay far. Popped it out, which is actually something that's pretty easy to do, because when you get it out of the packaging, this is actually not attached, so you have to insert it yourself, and this actually didn't really need a hairdryer to put back in, which is really nice. But for articulation, she can go about that far to that side, about that far to yay side. Then for the hind legs, can move forward about yay far because it gets kind of in the way of the arm here. But you can actually pretty much get it all the way around if you mess around with it a bit, which is really nice. Can also move in and out a little bit. Has a rotation here at the knee. Has a bend at the knee. And then for the feet, can move forward, which is really hard to show. There we go. Then can move back. It also has a rotation. So it's got a decent amount of play with the legs here, which is really nice. And then for her arm, can pretty much rotate all the way around. Can move in and out. And actually pretty nice range of motion, which is something I actually been pretty impressed with her, because compared to a lot of the other kaijus, their movements are a little bit stiff and hindered a lot. Generally because of the way the sculpt is, just make the figure look good, you kind of have to hinder it a little bit with the way they've been doing articulation. But she actually has also a really nice bend at the elbow. Also can rotate all the way around, so a lot of play there. And then for her hands, can rotate all the way around and has a little bit of play to it going side to side, but not a whole lot. And then for her body, which is probably actually the more disappointing part of the articulation, is it can move side to side a little bit, but nothing too crazy because of the way the plastic's molded. And can move a little bit side to side back here, but nothing too crazy. Same with the upper part of the neck here. Move a little bit side to side. A little bit of a crunch there. But it has a pretty nice rotation here, which is really nice. And then for the head, has pretty much almost a full 360. Generally stops about right there. And then for the mouth, like we saw earlier, it can move in and out. A little bit up, so you can have that overbite if you really wanted to, but not that far down because the little sac membrane here kind of gets in the way. So in terms of detail and articulation, she's already pretty much winning for me. But let's get her next to some of the other Gigas and Kaijus and see how they stack up next to her. So for some quick comparison, here's Otachi with some of the NECA Pacific Rim figures of Striker Eureka and Crimson Typhoon. And here she is with Hong Kong Brawl Gypsy Danger and Cherno Alpha. And here she is with her partner in crime, Leatherback. And here she is with one of my most recent NECA purchases with the NECA Alien Queen from Aliens. And here she is with the Ultra Axe Ultraman Tiga. And here she is with the NECA's 24-inch long Godzilla 2014. So overall for Otachi here, I think she turned out amazing. The overall amount of detail on her is excellent. And even though the articulation could be slightly better in the body, it's still very good overall, and I'll take it. And in terms of the rest of the Kaijus in Pacific Rim, she has the best articulation of all the other figures. So if you guys are a big fan of Pacific Rim and Kaijus in general, then this monster is for you. So what do you guys think? Have you guys picked up Otachi? What's your favorite scene from Pacific Rim? Or do you guys just want them to cancel the apocalypse already? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have closer pictures over on Facebook. If you want to click the link in the description below. Please don't be afraid to share this video around. And if you like this and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.
Hey Scunner, welcome to the family.
Haven't you guys done this joke before? Hey guys, welcome back to Super Unimportant Reviews. My name's Steve, and today we'll be going over the NECA Pacific Rim Kaiju Scunner. This is the kaiju that you've seen towards the end of the film Pacific Rim, which consisted of him Raiju and Slattern fighting Eureka Striker and Gypsy Danger underneath the water. And this was also the kaiju that got stabbed in the head by Gypsy Danger, got boiled by an underwater volcanic geyser, and nuked by Eureka Striker with Slattern. So he had a really rough go of it during the film, but I guess he managed to take out Gypsy Danger's leg, so he got a little bit in there. But overall, I thought it was actually a pretty neat concept for the film, even though he's kind of just a knife head variation, which is pretty much a trend for that film, because pretty much like axe head, knife head, and all the rest are pretty much all the same mold anyways, which also conveys on the figures, which we'll get to in a little bit. But overall, actually, I'm still happy that they put out this guy anyways, because getting these kaiju out of the way lets us get to the ones like Otachi, which is officially spoiled, and we're going to finally get one of them. And I guess he's coming out towards November. And we're also getting Axehead, which was the Trespasser concept figure, which, I'm still happy they're putting it out though nonetheless, because even though it's not something I'm super excited about, it's a monster nonetheless, so I'm not going to complain. But anyways, enough about that. For the packaging, it's pretty much the exact same we've gotten with all the other Pacific Rim figures for these scales, which he's more of the deluxe larger figures, which I'm really glad that NECA decided to upscale those, because the original knife head was kind of because it didn't really work well with all the other figures, and I'm glad that they ended up going back and retooling them anyways. But pretty much what you get is you get the Pacific Rim logo at the top here. And then down here you just get a concept picture of Scunner here. And nothing on the side. Come around to the back and just shows some of the other kaijus that they've released. And then it has Axehead here coming soon. And he's also, another thing to point out is he is a category 4 kaiju. So even though he's technically the same as Knifehead, he's actually considered to be more of a threat. So that's always cool. And it's got his little image right here with the radioactive symbol. Yeah, nothing over here. Some random mumbo jumbo. And that's enough about that. Let's get him open up out of his plastic prison. Alright, now that we got Scunner out of the package, getting into his details. Overall, I am in love with this guy's sculpt. And even though he's pretty much just a retool of Trespasser, which I think is kind of funny because some people say that he's more of a Knifehead retool, which Knifehead actually had a little extra parts on him, just like this guy, which... Bring a Knifehead in for a quick second. Right here you can see that he has an extra little added piece segment here for the plastic here. Which, when you have Trespasser, there's literally nothing else added to him. And especially the giveaway here too is the neck here, because they're pretty much the exact same neck. It's just a lot of it's being covered up by his little rubber coat that he has. Which, actually, I really love the idea of this rubber coat here, because it doesn't really hinder the movements of his arms, which is really nice. But it also helps to convey his bulkiness, because he's supposed to be a category 4 kaiju, so he's going to be a lot more massive and intimidating than, say, Knifehead, because he's only category 3, so this really helps to convey the largeness that he has. And then getting into his head sculpt, I really love how the way this turned out. Like, I don't even know what this is, but it looks cool. And I really love the hammerhead shape to his head, and especially with the giant bull horns coming off to the side. Like, I think it's a really nice touch, especially with the paint right here. And even like with the detailing done in his mouth, like they did a really nice job with just, it just surprised me how good that tongue looked, which is kind of a weird thing to say. If I can get the lighting in a little bit more. You can see that there's a lot of like red, pinks, and purples going on in there, which I think is really cool. And then also with his teeth here, where he's got like the extra segments going on here. And he's just got a decent amount of detailing going on with him. And especially up here where you got like his portholes up here. And it's just, to be honest, this is probably one of my favorite head sculpts that they've done in a while. Like, I really loved the other Pacific Rim kaijus, but his just turned out great. And then, especially, again, getting into the paint here, I really love how they updated the luminescence that's supposed to be going on here, because in the movie, they have where these tribals are, they're glowing. And they use this metallic paint here to really show off the shine here, especially when you got it under light. Like, bringing back in Knifehead for a second. Because on Knifehead, I thought it looked pretty cool, especially with, just, even though all it is just yellow paint here. But it still helped to try to give you the illusion that the luminescence is going on. And especially with the mouth on here. But on him, it actually literally shines. Like, you can just literally, like, even on camera, just see the difference going on here. And I just am just in love with the way they did the paint on here. And again, just, even though it's pretty much the same mold as Trespasser again, the only real difference being here with the hands, which is probably my first really major complaint on here, is I like it that it's different, and it kind of gives him the swimming motion, like, because he's mainly underwater anyway, so he's swimming along doing his thing, so it helps to try to represent that. And I really love this gloss black paint out here. Like, that looks gnarly. But my only real complaint is it doesn't really look like his fingers can separate. Which, I know they're not really, like, posable, so they'd be stationary, but it's just like, I would have maybe liked to see a little bit more definition here. Because to me, it kind of looks more like a paw more than, like, an actual, like, fingers. And it's kind of weird, like, especially, like, underneath you can see it's a little bit more defined here. And so, this makes more sense, but just on the top, it's just, it looks really odd to me, especially when you got, like, knife heads here, which looks amazing in comparison. But other than that, it's pretty much it. And then he's got his little secondary hands here, which are pretty cool. And they also got the gloss black paint here on the nails. And same with the feet, which also turned out really nice. And they even got detailing underneath the feet, which I always really love that, like, just the attention to the detail on that. And then probably the second complaint I got on this figure is it's the same backpack as Knifehead and Trespasser, but what I would have really, well, not Trespasser, he actually has more of a giant blade backpack, so sorry for that one. But anyways, getting back into the figure, I really would have loved to have seen the gloss black here on the tusk, just like you see on his fingernails here, because it really would have helped to at least show a little more variation and details on here. Because right now it's just more of a kind of like a wood brown color. So it's a little odd, but I don't really hate it all too much. Like, it still looks really nice. And then getting into his tail here, which is just the bendy tail we've been getting with all of them, which I seen one reviewer when he was talking about this that it kind of turned me off a little bit on this until I actually seen the figures in the store. But his actually had a different variation on the tail color, so it was kind of, it didn't match the rest of the body. Well, mine actually seems like it lines up pretty well, other than it's got a little bit of brown paint down here, which looks a little odd. But again, like, it's kind of cool that the tail's a little different too. Like, it's got all these little prongs coming off of it. So that's actually pretty neat that they changed that a little bit. So overall in the detail department, I think they did a great job on this figure, and it's looks like a very nice improvement over the Trespasser and the knife heads. And then getting into his articulation, with his head here, you can open the mouth, it goes up and down. The only thing with mine is it seems kind of loose, so it wiggles a bit, so you can kind of get it doing this little shifty look, like, but it stays in place pretty well. It just don't really want to mess with it all that much. And his head here is on a ball joint, so you can look a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit side to side, and it also rotates. But I'm not sure. Nope, can't really get all the way around, so that's about it you can get on the head. And for the arms here, they look like they're just on pig joints, I believe. So it can go up and down, forward and back, but you're not going to get a super range of motion. Like, it won't go all around because of the rubber. And then here at the elbows, they got a bend. Nothing too great, but it's there nonetheless. And it also rotates all the way around. And same with his hands, they're on a ball joint, so pretty much go all the way around. Got a little bit of bend to them. And then for his waist here, can rotate pretty much all the way around. Got a little bit of a tummy crunch. His little arms here are also posable. They can move in and out. Pretty much can move, get them things moving whichever way you want, like even if you want to go back here. And then get it set back. And his little hands here on ball joints. So it goes all the way around. Bends up and down. And then for his legs here, go forward, then go back, and then they could go a little bit of play with them going in and out. It's got a bend at the knee. Also can rotate at the knee. And then his feet are on ball joints, so they got a nice pivot bend, and you can pretty much do whatever you want with the feet. Again, for the tail, it's just a bendy tail, so one thing I'd just be a little worried about over time, like this seems like a very thick piece of rubber, so I can't imagine the wear coming out of this very easily. But just from experience with a lot of other figures that have been like this, I'd just be a little wary of over time playing with this a lot because the wire might pop out. But other than that, he's actually got a very nice range of articulation. And overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with the way this guy turned out. And for some comparisons, here's Scunner compared next to Trespasser and Knifehead. And here he is compared next to Battle Damage Gypsy Danger, which now we have a reason for the chainsaw blades. And here he is compared next to Leatherback. And here's Scunner compared next to all the other Jaegers with Crimson Typhoon, Eureka Striker, Coyote Tango, and Cherno Alpha. And here he is compared next to the Godzilla 2014, which makes me really want that 24-inch one just to have a more accurate representation of the scale for these guys. And here he is compared next to Failhead. Overall, Scunner, I'm actually very happy with the way this figure turned out. His sculpt is awesome, and my only real complaint with it, the entire thing, is that his claw seems more like a paw than anything. But his head sculpt is fantastic, so you win some, you lose some. And then his paint, I really love the luminescence on here with the metallic paint. I think it's a very nice improvement over the other figures. And overall, I actually just think this is a nice improvement over them in general. And it really makes me excited for when Otachi's coming out, because if this is any indication, I think that figure is going to be bonkers. But what do you guys think? Are you guys a big fan of Scunner? Did you guys like that underwater fight scene? Or are you guys just not a big fan of clones? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have closer pictures on Facebook if you want to click the link in the description below. And if you like this and want to see more stuff like this, please give us a like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.
Hey, Gypsy? Yes, Striker? What the heck is that supposed to be? That's our new defense against the kaiju. So wait a minute. You're telling me that this wall of nothing is a way better idea than mechs that are actually built to defeat kaijus? You actually expect me to believe that a kaiju's just gonna walk up to the wall, kinda just look at it, and just be all like, oh man, they actually put up a wall? How am I supposed to get past this? Guess I'll cancel the apocalypse myself. They found my one weakness. Foam board and plastic. See you guys later. You know, sometimes it just helps to be positive. Don't you give me that look. Rock, paper, scissors, see who goes punching in the face? Yeah, I rock at this game. Get it? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. That is totally not fair. Hey, just welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steven. Today I'll be going over the NECA Pacific Rim Kaiju Mutavore. If you guys don't remember who Mutavore is, he's from the film Pacific Rim, and his primary significance as a film is he is the kaiju that breaks through the wall. And the wall is at Sydney, which is where Striker Eureka was stationed. And Striker Eureka ends up taking out this kaiju before going on to China. And actually, I've been really excited about this kaiju for a long time now. Mainly because I actually really like this kaiju in terms of design. I always thought he was pretty cool looking. And it's really awesome to actually see just a new kaiju out of the Pacific Rim line other than just another Otachi or another version of Knifehead, if you will. And mainly, I'm just happy to have mine finally because I've been waiting for this guy for a long time now. And there's other reviews that have already got this guy out before me, but heck, I want to get this guy out anyway. So without further ado, for his packaging, pretty much like what we've seen in a lot of the other kaijus and some of the earlier Pacific Rim figures, we have this very nice dark blue with some light blue background here to kind of give it more of a granite-ish appearance. With the kaiju on the bottom, Kaiju Mutavore, Pacific Rim. On the top, just tells you that he's radioactive. Also, you can see that Mutavore is loose inside the packaging because I kind of got excited and already opened them. But for the side, you just get him in a nice dynamic pose. Other side of the packaging, literally the exact same pose. Back of the packaging, we get him in a slightly new pose with Ultimate Striker, Ultimate Gypsy, and Deluxe Hardship, which these two figures will be coming out soon. And some Wiggle Mumbo Jumbo on the bottom. So let's get this guy opened up out of his cardboard prison. So now the way Mutavore opened up out of his cardboard prison, first there is some assembly required because you will have to reattach his back sail fin, because if this would have been attached inside of the packaging, would have been stupid huge. And it's pretty simple to do. You'll just notice that there's a empty gap on the back here. You just line up the groove sections with the inside of his back. Literally just push it in. Really easy to do actually, because this is actually sort of soft, but I don't recommend pushing in on the sides here, because you'll notice here that this is actually glued together on a seam line. So if you apply too much pressure on the sides of the sails right here, you might actually break the seal here. So make sure when attaching in there, you're going to want to be up to this little crest right here, using this for your pressure to insert it into the peg hole. And now that we have Mutavore fully assembled, he also comes with his own stand, which I already popped the thing out for it. But essentially what it is just this little circle clear plastic disc. You'll notice that there's a little hole here on the top. You just insert the stand into the hole. Really simple stuff. And then the stand has a little articulated joint up at the top, so you can use it to help pose your Mutavore. And what this does just allows Mutavore to actually stand like he's supposed to. Which, I'm actually really glad they included this in the packaging, mainly because it'd actually be really nice to have the Mutavore actually standing how it's supposed to. Because if you didn't have the stand, you'll notice that this figure is stupid front heavy. And in the film, you kind of walk like this, which now in retrospect doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because how the heck is this kaiju going to be able to balance with a tail like that? But it's movie science, so to compensate for this, we get this awesome little stand, which I am super glad that they include inside of the packaging. And to me, it actually works a little bit better than what we got with the alien stands, because it doesn't require actually like bending the top part of the plastic up here in order to get the figure into it. It just literally rests on there. I don't feel like this is going to break at all, which is pretty good. Just make sure to have that in there fully securely. Which the stand is pretty nice overall. I'm not really too worried about it breaking. It seems pretty sturdy. But because of the weight of the figure, it is going to shift inside of the little hole for the stand here. So just be a little bit warned of that. So if you do actually like jerk the thing forward and sideways, it probably will pop out and snap. That is a possibility, so just be a little bit careful with your stand. Then bringing Mutavore in for a closer look at his details. The sculpt on this figure is just gorgeous. Just like all the other Pacific Rim figures, it looks pretty much straight ripped from the movie. With the head sculpt looking awesome, where I love the bladed edges on the front of the face here, where he kind of uses the face to just kind of break through the wall in Sydney, which is, I always thought it was really cool, because when you see that they were like, oh, instead of building Jaegers to punch kaijus in the face, we're just going to build a giant paper-thin wall, then hopefully the monsters can't get through it. When they have faces like this, that are literally made for breaking through crap, like... But anyways, moving on. But bring it back to the head sculpt, you get a lot of really nice grooves inside of the crest for the front of the head. I also like, too, on Mutavore that his eyes are actually on the undersection of his head, which you would think it should look something like this, which would be really weird looking, but I kind of like it. But I like this a little bit more personally. But there's a lot of very nice details for the eyes, where you see a lot of them kind of going in different directions, which is overall I think is really cool. It's just a really neat little aesthetic for this kaiju, because I imagine this is mainly going to be used for helping to see like the people running on the ground to cause even more destruction. Because if they're more up the top section, he'd have to be like looking down all the time to be able to see all the humans running around, which when it's set up like this, don't really have to do that. But I do see that being a nightmare for fighting Jaegers, because again, if you've seen the movie, he kind of gets his butt handed to him by Striker Eureka, so he doesn't really seem very adequate, especially for how freaking huge this kaiju is. And then if I can show it to you guys, on the inside of his mouth, he actually has some details on the roof of his mouth. He has multiple layers of teeth, which all look freaking gnarly. Even the details on his tongue look really awesome. But moving down to the rest of the details on his neck, actually at the top section here, he has some nostrils, or like blowholes like you see on a dolphin or a whale, which I always thought was pretty sweet for this guy. And you start seeing some of the lines on the side of his head where you have the bioluminescence, which also travels down his arms and his legs as well. But for the most of the rest of his body, they're fairly absent. Then moving down to the rest of his body, where he has these tiny little alien Gaigan arms with these little praying mantis-like hands, which is pretty sweet overall. I always thought that was a pretty cool little aesthetic for this guy too. Because especially when you see like these little arms on like Knifehead and most of the other kaijus, it's always cool to kind of see it in a little bit more of a different pattern. And then with his arms, which are flipping huge, and have a bunch of these bony protrusions sticking out the back sections here, which is really cool. Then with his hands, with these two very sharp claws on his two fingers, which I imagine if you go to claw into anything with these kind of nails, these are going to break. They don't really seem very, like, they're cool looking, but practical. And with this paint job here for his nails, where they're not technically gloss black, but they're in a little bit more of a grayer shade. Just like you see with the top section of the neck here, which the rest of his body is in a very dirt brown clay color and dark gray for a lot of the inner colorings for his details. Overall, really sweet looking. And then you also have his little blade sail fins on the top of his back, which I always thought was really cool. And this kaiju gives him a little bit more of a fierce appearance. Like, can you just imagine this just sticking out of the water as he's coming towards Australia? That would look super awesome. And it gives him a little bit more character, which is really nice. And then for his tail, which he technically has 2 tails in the back section here, which the top section of the tail has this little grid pattern going on, while the undersection looks primarily like just a giant bone, which is kind of weird. And then he has like his little, kind of like what you'd expect to see, like a stumpy tail on the top section here. But you imagine it to be a little bit longer though, to help kind of balance out this kaiju, because this guy is very front heavy, and without the stand, he's not going to be standing by himself, which makes perfect sense. And then for his legs, not really too much to go on here, other than you see a little bit more of the bioluminescence here, a little bit more of the bone protrusion sticking out of the back, and a little bit more of that crest on the top section of the thigh here. And you guys, little feet here with his 3 toes. And overall, just a awesome looking kaiju. And then moving on to his articulation, which I'm actually pretty surprised with. I heard some complaints with some people, but I don't really have anything really bad to say, because for his articulation, his head can rotate all the way around, which is really cool. And then right here, which you think this is actually a little bit of an ugly section here, because he actually has a swivel, which is really cool. So his head can look left and right, especially if you want to get those punches from Strike Eureka, and it's really awesome that he has this. And even though it kind of takes away from the detail a little bit on the neck, I'm glad that they went with this, because I'd rather have the figure be a little bit more articulated than just to be super clean, like with some of the other kaijus that they released in the series, where they don't really incorporate a lot of these hinge joints, which I think would have really helped a lot of the figures in the articulated sections to give them a little bit more playability. And then for his neck, if you play around with the joint enough, you can get him to look about, because it's on a ball joint, so it takes a lot of finessing, but you can look about that far up, so you can get him looking fully straight on like he's swimming, which is actually really cool. And then when bending it down, it goes down about that far, and then you get a little bit of a side-to-side motion with the back of the neck here as well. And then the back of his neck can also rotate too. And then for his little mini hands, we'll go over next, which are on ball joints, so there's a lot of play here. And then the little elbows here are on a hinge joint, so they can go up and down. Also have a little bit of rotation here as well, which is really good. Nothing at the little claw portion though. Now, for his arms, I wish, because they have the hinge joints here and here, I really wish they would have put him in at the shoulders, because I think that would have made this guy's articulation near perfect for me. Because his arms can't really go outwards, which is a little disappointing. They can rotate all the way around, and they do have a little bit of play with it, but it's nothing crazy. And then at the top section of the bicep, you also have a rotation here, which kind of helps with the arm articulation, which is very helpful. And at his elbows, he has a rotation here. He also has a pretty good bend here at the elbow too, which is really nice. And then his hands are on a hinge joint, so they can swivel in and out, and can also rotate all the way around. Then for his body, can rotate right and left, and can move back and forth ever so slightly, but nothing too crazy there. For his legs, can rotate all the way around, can go outwards about that far, inwards about that far. At the knee, can swivel left and right on a hinge joint, so you get a pretty decent bend there as well. Then at the next joint, you also have a rotation here, and also on a hinge, so it can move back and forth. His feet are also on a hinge, so they can move, if this one wasn't stuck, can move forward about that far, straighten up about that far, can rotate all the way around, and no articulation at the tail. So for a quick comparison, here we have the NECA Mutavore compared next to some other NECA Pacific Rim figures with the Ultimate Strike Eureka and the Deluxe Land Otachi. And here's the NECA Hong Kong Brawl Gypsy Danger and Battle Damage Knifehead. And here's some SH Monster Arts figures with Destroya and the standard Godzilla 2000. Here's some NECA Godzilla figures with Burning Godzilla and Godzilla 1954. And just because I can, here's the Bare Metal Godzilla 1954 and the Marmot Godzilla 1984. So overall, Mutavore here, as per the films, he's not my favorite kaiju, with that being Knifehead as my favorite, with Otachi and Slattern following second and third. But as terms of action figures, I think this figure is the best in the line. I love the mix of the articulated joints to give him a little bit more posability than all the other kaijus in the line. And just like all the other figures in the line, his details are amazing, and overall very happy that I got this figure. So if you guys are really into the NECA Pacific Rim line and already own the Ultimate Strike Eureka, then his arch nemesis would make a great addition to your collection. But what do you guys think? Do you guys own the NECA Mutavore? Do you guys want to see a Slatern as much as I do, or is Otachi just more your thing? Please let us know in the comments. Look closer picture of this guy on Facebook. You want to click the link in the description below, and help us defeat those kaiju by hitting that like button. Subscribe, become a ranger today, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.